Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and I'm reacting to a comment on a comment I made. Um, I talked about one of the biggest ways to avoid abortion is don't have sex with people you don't want to reproduce with. But somebody commented, and I'm going to quote it: in Africa, it's usually when the man wants it, the woman has to obey. Quote, bite the pillow, honey, I'm going in dry, close quote. That reminds me of one of the most disturbing things I ever heard on the National Abortion Federation tapes. And that is the fact that the women often aren't choosing whether or not they have sex. And I mean, whether you classify it as rape, I think morally it's rape. I think psychologically it's rape. But I don't know if legally it's rape. But there were nurses in an abortion that worked in abortion clinics, and they were talking about the women coming back after their abortions with serious infections because their, quote, boyfriends, quote, won't allow them to abstain after the abortion. Now, there's a word for won't allow them to abstain, and the word I would use is rape. They talk about how these men won't take no for an answer. These men also have unprotected sex with other women, not just the woman that they got pregnant and dropped off at the abortion clinic. And therefore, they are walking petri dishes of sexually transmitted diseases. And these nurses were talking about, well, maybe we can at least convince them to use condoms when they are forcing these women to have sex so soon after their abortions that there's a serious risk of potentially lethal infection. And what made me angry is there wasn't any discussion about how these women deserved better than these relationships. There wasn't any talk about, can we develop a partnership with a women's help center? Can we develop a partnership with a rape crisis center? Can we do something that might help these women when they're ready to get out of these abusive relationships? It was never on the table. And I'm not going to say they didn't have any sympathy for the women, but it was more like they just wanted to prevent the infection. They saw being treated as a valuable human being wasn't even in this woman's universe, And I've often said the clinics don't treat the women like they're valuable human beings, so why should they expect the men who are getting them pregnant to treat them as valuable human beings? But, it's just another example of how abortion practice just dehumanizes women and just turns them into something that you don't want getting infected, and not as a human being who deserves something better than being forced into unwanted sex when that sex actually puts her life at risk because it can give her a fatal infection.